So, in this edition of You and the Law, I am discussing the state of the Nigerian judiciary, the state of courts in Nigeria. And I talk from personal knowledge. I've been a lawyer for 14 years. December 2023 will make me 14 full years a lawyer. And I've put in 14 years into the practice of law. From the time I was called till now, I've been a practitioner. I go to court every day, except the days I don't want to go to. I've represented clients in various courts. And so what I want to say now is based on personal knowledge. I don't feel good about it, but the truth must be told so as to see if the status quo can change. We have to speak to society, we have to speak to government and see if the status quo can change. The state of the court in Nigeria is a sorry state. It's a sorry state. I've been to all the courts. In the last 14 years, I've been to customary courts. I've appeared in the magistrates court. I've appeared in the High Court, State High Court, Federal High Court. I've appeared in National Industrial Court. I've appeared in the Court of Appeal. I've appeared in the Supreme Court. In between, I've also appeared in military court martial defending a client. I've also appeared in National Investment and Securities Tribunal. And therefore, what I'm saying is based on what I have seen. What I have seen is that the state of the Nigerian courts is a sorry state. If anyone says that there are no facilities in courts in Nigeria, that person is not lying. For those of you that are watching, I'm sure you've been to courts in your locality or in other states of the Federation, and I have also been to other states of the Federation, aside the state I stay. I've been to court, sorry, I've been to court in other states of the Federation aside the state I stay. And there are very few states that you see decent courts. And these decent courts most times are only in the state capital. Like if you go to Port Harcourt, you see decent courts that were constructed by Governor Nyesom Wike. We applaud him for that. But in spite of that, you see that those courts were constructed only at the city center. So what happens to the courts at the various divisions? If you go to Abuja, yes, you're going to see some decent courts. But when you go inside, okay, Abuja, yes, is the federal capital territory of Nigeria, so it should have the best of facilities. But what happens to other states of the Federation? In most states of the Federation of Nigeria today, the courts are in terrible shape. There are no infrastructures. There are no good chairs for lawyers to sit. Sometimes you go into the courtroom, there are no fans. Sometimes you go into the courtroom, AC, air conditioners, which is like a very common thing in Nigeria. In most courts, you don't see those things. And tell me any aspect of man's existence today that does not work with a computer. Everything is automated in a lot of places. But in Nigerian courts, there are no computers. Judges still write in longhand. So as you're talking as counsel, you're cross-examining someone and you're having speed, it's flowing, and you just pushing it speedily. The magistrate will say, counsel, do you know I'm writing? Pause, take it easy. And so you pause for the magistrate to write or for the judge to write. And when the judge comes back to say, counsel, continue, the thoughts that you came with sometimes had disappeared. We talk about delay in the justice system in Nigeria. Part of the reasons for the delay is absence of infrastructure. If you see where some of the magistrates are staying to adjudicate over matters in this country, you will weep for the judiciary. In some states, magistrates' courts are in cubicles. Sorry state, very terrible kind of situation in the country. You talk about internet in the courtroom, that's luxury. Which of the courts have I gone where there is free Wi-Fi for the litigants and for the lawyers to use? I've not seen any. Maybe you've seen any in your own locality. Drop it in the comment section. Let us praise that court. Let us praise that state where you have free Wi-Fi. in the court premises and in the courtrooms for lawyers to make use of and for litigants to even make use of. Because something can pop up and a lawyer wants to browse and get the current position of the law and then tell the magistrate or tell the judge. The lawyer will not be able if he doesn't have his own internet facility. So infrastructure in Nigerian courts is zero. Zero. If you go to some states, maybe Lagos, they have done some improvements, but you can just count the states. And even in Lagos, it's just at the city center. Where is the High Court in the outskirts of Lagos that has automated proceedings? When Oscar Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend in South Africa, his trial was beamed live in South Africa. I'm not talking about Europe or America. I'm talking about an African country. When Oscar Pistorius shot and killed his girlfriend in South Africa, he was taken to court and his trial was beamed live. And we saw that the judge there, the lady judge that sat and heard that matter, was not writing anything with longhand because everything was automated. So at the end of proceedings, it's printed out or sent by email. Seamless way of doing things. And in no time, Oscar Pistorius knew his fate. When the police officer in the United States of America that killed the black gentleman, he stood on his neck and he died. When he was taken to the court, his trial was beamed live and it was global. You could watch it from anywhere. And you saw the speed. Nobody was writing anything in longhand. But in Nigeria, our judges, our magistrates are writing in longhand. So if this was to be done in the courtroom, okay, if I was to say this in the courtroom, the magistrate will be writing what I'm saying now. The judge will be writing what I'm saying now. What manner of punishment is the Nigerian government giving to those that man our judiciary, to those that man our courts? They have to write in longhand forever. If they sit in court for 9 hours, they're writing for 9 hours. What type of punishment? And this is why some lawyers don't want to go to the bench, because the work environment is terrible. It's killing. Now you go to some courts in Nigeria and you don't even see ordinary fan. Fan was invented many years back, so it's not a luxury item anymore. So if there are no fans, is it air conditioners that you see in such courts? Sometimes you don't see light in most of our courts. And what I'm saying, courts across the entire Federation of Nigeria, it's not only in one state. So it's a sorry state of the Nigerian judiciary. And yet, the judiciary is supposed to be an arm of government. So the same way that government takes care of the legislature, government takes care of the executive, should government not also take care of the judiciary? Or whoever is in charge of the judiciary? Is it the chief judge? Is it now autonomous? If it is autonomous, why shouldn't the judiciary be properly taken care of so as to give us conducive atmosphere? So that when you go to court to do your case, your court will be like your office. Most offices are well equipped by lawyers to give them comfortable environment to work. So why are the courtrooms not being properly fitted with modern gadgets to allow for ease of adjudication? It's a sorry state. The state of the Nigerian judiciary, the state of courts in Nigeria. For those of you watching, I'm sure you've been to court before. Drop your comments. Let's also know the experience you had when you went to court. Your first impression when you went to court. Was it that kind of a decent place that it should be? In some states, some magistrates operate in cubicles. They operate in cubicles. There are no fans, air conditioner. So it's terrible. And go and see where files are being kept in court. You don't have the modern filing practice where files are carefully stacked. If you go to any court in Nigeria today and look for a file that is 10 years old, it will take you so much to be able to discover where the file is kept. Sometimes the file is kept just beside the veranda and soaked by rain, and that's the end of it. But we've seen situations outside Nigeria where people's court records were brought out 20 years after, 30 years after, 50 years after. In Nigeria, I doubt if there are files that have been in court for 50 years or since independence. I really doubt. So it's a sorry state of the Nigerian judiciary, and it saddens me as a stakeholder in the justice system. If I have done 14 years in the practice of law, then I'm a stakeholder. I'm interested in what's going on. And I can tell you that what is going on is grossly inadequate, is unsatisfactory. It appears as though the Nigerian courts have been abandoned by successive governments. Is it the chief judges that should fix this thing? Have they been given proper budgetary allocation? So what's going on? The situation is no more bearable. It's a very terrible situation. It's embarrassing when you look at what's going on in other countries of the world, where there are courts, decent courts, to do adjudication. Ours is a very terrible kind of situation, and yet Nigeria is an oil-producing country. Nigeria must be ashamed of the courts it has. Yes, Nigeria must be ashamed of the kind of courts that justice is being dispensed. Very terrible, very shabby, very unacceptable environment in most cases. When you leave the city center and go to the hinterland, you find courts that, people are not even supposed to sit there and drink palm wine, but we are sitting down there to do adjudication. The time has come for the Nigerian judiciary to have a facelift, to be given attention. The time has also come for successive governments to be interested in what's going on in the judiciary, because this is an arm of government. I am a stakeholder. I am affected by the absence of infrastructure in the Nigerian judiciary, and I call on every stakeholder to ensure that the fortunes of the Nigerian courts, fortunes of the Nigerian judiciary is improved upon. We cannot continue to keep quiet. Senior advocates, my lords, the judges, the justices, and my learned colleagues at the bar, stakeholders, journalists, students of law, everybody, all hands must be on. We must talk about this thing so as to change the status quo. The status quo as of today is terrible, and there is need to change it.